Megan! I am here with another video where we go through my game collection console by console. I decided to take a break from the consoles and I would really love to talk to you about one of my handhelds. That is the Game Boy collection. I decided to lump the Game Boy and Game Boy Color games together because those consoles I feel like are very closely related, but I also don't really have that many Game Boy Color exclusive games. I would love to know, before we get into things, what was your first Nintendo handheld? And I want to hear about your experiences with the Game Boy. So for me personally, the first handheld that I ever played was the Game Boy. And by Game Boy, I mean this one here. This isn't my childhood Game Boy. I actually got this, I think, for my birthday last year. I have a lot of nostalgia and a lot of wonderful memories of this little handheld. Does anyone have any memories of fighting with siblings or other family members or friends over batteries, especially on like trips? I loved this little device. I also think that this design is really iconic. So I wasn't able to get a Game Boy Pocket, which made me really sad. I wanted one because they always had like these really fun colors and everything. But then after the Game Boy Pocket came the Game Boy Color, and I got one of those. This is my actual childhood Game Boy Color. It's not in the best shape. If you look at the back here, you can see like the sticker is completely worn. I don't really remember how old I was the first time I got the Game Boy Color, and I don't really remember much about like even getting it. I wonder if I got it one year for Christmas maybe? There are two ways that my Game Boy collection is currently stored. One of them is that for a lot of these, they're just in these little plastic cases like this. This is to sort of keep it protected from dust while also not having to spend a lot of money. Here is my bin. I store them with my Game Boy Advance games as well. And then I just keep this bin over on a shelf. And the other way that I have them stored, I have these really, really nice cases that I ordered from Custom Game Cases. I don't have too many of these. I mostly save these sort of cases for like my favorites or like the really, really like valuable games. So this is what one of these look like. So they're like little DS cases. They're the same shape and size as a DS case. They're really nice. I definitely recommend them if you're looking for something to like store your games on a shelf. This is what the inside looks like. There's a little place if you have manuals to put your manual in there. And there's a little spot for the card as well. Here's one with the manual stored in it so you can sort of see what that looks like as well. So for my Game Boy and Game Boy Color collection, I've actually realized that I don't have too many like Game Boy Color exclusive games. I really need to look for some. So I have a total of 28 Game Boy and Game Boy Color games. I just have them lumped together on my collection spreadsheet. So we're gonna start with the collection. We're gonna start at the very beginning of the alphabet. For some of these games, I don't really know that much about them, so I may not have a lot to say. I still have a couple of Game Boy carts from my childhood as well, so I'll probably mention those ones too. The first game is Balloon Kid. Has anyone played this? I was looking up lists of essential Game Boy games once, and this game was on there. I don't really know much about it. This was a gift from someone in my Twitch community, so I'm very excited to play it someday. I'm very lucky because I found a very nice copy of it. I'm very happy with the way the label looks, and yeah, I'm excited to play this one someday. All right, so let's go into the next game. So this is from a series that I've only played one game for. It was on Nintendo 64, so I'm excited to play these ones someday. The first game that I have here is Bomberman for Game Boy. This looks really cute. I don't know if you can see the cover very good. Yeah, I guess kind of. He's got a really cute little hat. He's kind of got Indiana Jones vibes. That's what I'm getting from this cover. I need to confess that I don't really know anything about Bomberman. And then to go along with that one, we've got Pocket Bomberman. I don't know the difference between the two games either, so I'm looking forward to trying these ones someday. All right, so the next game that I have here, in every single video that I make, I talk about how I really want to play more games in this series, and that is Castlevania. This is the Castlevania Adventure. I have not heard much about this game. In every single video, I talk about how I really want to play more Castlevania. It's a really big goal of mine. This one is definitely going to be on the list to play someday. The next game that I have is a childhood favorite of mine, and this is the actual childhood cart that I have, and that's Conker's Pocket Tales. So I am a huge fan of Conker. Well, let me elaborate a little bit more. When I was a kid, I loved Diddy Kong Racing, and Conker was my favorite character in the game. So when I saw that this existed, I knew I needed to have it. I loved Conker, and I needed to play a game starring him. However, I have not played Conker's Bad Fur Day because I was not allowed. I did get this game. I played this one a lot. I never finished this game though. This game was really difficult for me as a kid, but I loved it so much because I liked anything where I got to play as Conker. I will always be upset that we never got Conker's 12 Tales. So the next game that I have here is also one of my carts from when I was a kid. I have never heard another person ever mention this game. So in the comments below, tell me if you've heard of this. This is Dead Heat Scramble. It's this little like racing monster truck kind of game where when you drive, you take damage and you don't want to have too many collisions, you don't want to hit too many things or anything. I played this game so much as a kid, especially with my uncle. I thought it was one of the coolest games ever. I feel like there's like one song in it. We've got Final Fantasy Adventure. The reason that I picked this up is I believe this is the start of the Mana series, and I really, really like Secret of Mana. I haven't played this one yet. I got this at a game convention a couple of years ago, and it's kind of just been sitting here. It's a game that I really have big intentions to play someday, but I just haven't had the time to. It's part of my backlog. Oh, this is Sunsoft. Wait, that's interesting. Okay, so I just went down a rabbit hole looking up Final Fantasy Adventure. Because what I noticed here is that my cart has the Sunsoft logo on it, which I thought was really interesting because I'm pretty sure that since it has the Final Fantasy name, it's a Square Enix game. Well, Squaresoft at the time, right? But apparently Sunsoft did like re-releases of these games, and this cart is specifically from the re-release. That is so interesting. This one is on my to-play list. I'm not sure when, hopefully sooner rather than later. We'll see how it goes. So the next game that I have to show is one of the most valuable games in my collection, probably in the top 10 list. That is Kid Dracula. This is a childhood copy, and the only thing that I really know about this game is that it is related to, I think it's a spin-off of the Castlevania series. I haven't played it. I've heard they're really difficult. I will be looking forward to giving it a try someday myself. For this one, I store it in this little case here so that it's protected. The next game that I have is, I believe it's the first game in this series, a very beloved Nintendo IP, Kirby's Dream Land. I believe this is the first game that they ever made for like the whole Kirby franchise. Please correct me if I'm wrong though. I have this one and I have the NES one, and I believe they have very similar box art if I'm not mistaken. Kirby is not pink on this. That's interesting. So I don't have very much experience playing Kirby games. I did play this as a kid, but I couldn't get anywhere and I couldn't finish it. I would really like to go back and try to finish this one someday. The first one here that I have, this is my childhood copy of this game. It's Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening DX. I played this game so much as a kid. This was the first Zelda game that I ever played. I did not finish it as a kid. I have since finished it. This game is so difficult, but I had so much fun with it. It was such a wonderful adventure that like, I don't even know how else to phrase it. It was such a great game. It was so much fun to play. I had always wanted to play the Zelda series because my uncle really liked them. He would specifically play Zelda 1, Zelda 2, and A Link to the Past. But I never got a chance to play those ones because I was a little bit too young. I could not read at that point in time. So when I saw this game and I had my own Game Boy Color and everything, I knew I needed to have it. So I put in so many hours. When they give you that shovel, I used it in every single little square trying to find secrets. I loved this game so much. I think that this game is probably responsible for my love of the Zelda series. Even though it wasn't the first game that I finished in the series, I still loved it so much. I keep this one in this little protected case as well to make sure that it stays safe. I need to confess, I have not played these next two games despite really wanting to. I've got Oracle of Ages and I've got Oracle of Seasons. I've never played these ones. I did not have these games as a kid. The reason being is because whenever my family saw them, they have like a similar aesthetic to Link's Awakening. So whenever my family saw those, they were like, you don't need that. You already have that game. So I never had a chance to play these growing up. I believe Ages was picked up at a gaming convention a few years ago. My Twitch community helped me save up and get Seasons so I can play them both together. I'm really looking forward to it. I have always wanted to play these. These are probably, I'm currently playing Zelda 1. They're on my soon to play backlog. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna try to play both of these this year. One thing that I always really liked about these, I believe these are the first games like this we're looking at. Look at how cool the see-through plastic is. Like, isn't that amazing? I always thought it was the most awesome like aesthetic. I'm so happy to have these. I'm so excited to play these. I also really liked how the like cover art was like, it wasn't gold, it was red and it was blue, and I thought that was really cool. Here are the two cases for these ones as well. All right, so we're going into the Mario games for this console. I have quite a few of them. I'm very excited to show this one here. This is the very first Game Boy game that I ever have played. I feel like it's probably pretty easy to guess because I feel like this is a lot of people's first Game Boy game, Super Mario Land. This unfortunately is not my childhood copy. I actually have no idea where my childhood copy went. So this one I think was picked up at a game convention a few years ago. I never beat this game, but my gosh, should I play it so much. The song from World 1-1 is incredible. I think about it all the time. One of my goals this year is I really want to beat this game. I've seen how it ends. I've seen like the final boss and everything, but I personally never finished it myself. So someday I'm gonna do it. It's my big goal. I owe it to childhood Megan. The next game I have here, I have a little story about this one. This is Super Mario Land 2, the 6 golden coins. I just learned that this copy has like teeth marks on it. This is not my childhood copy of this game. Because, so when I was a kid, I took this game to school with me. I was in elementary school. I had my Game Boy Color. I had a few of my games. This game specifically was stolen from me. So I have this trust issue with this game that someday it's just gonna disappear on me. I haven't played this one the whole way through, but I remember loving it a lot. I believe this one, does he get bunny ears? Yeah, he even has them on the cover. He's got bunny ears. I remember loving it a lot. It is a big goal of mine to also finish this game someday. I gotta do it for little Megan. She never had the chance. The next game's on my lineup here. We're just going down the list of Mario games. We've got Super Mario Land 3, Wario Land, which I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first Wario game in like the series of Wario games that exist, right? It's pretty cool how it started off as a Super Mario Land spin-off, kind of, right? You play as Wario in this game. I didn't play this very much. I was not a fan of Wario as a kid. I really want to play more of his games. I have these ones and I have a couple on some other consoles, but I've not played too many Wario games. That's something that I'm going to fix in the future. Going off of that and that whole tangent that I went on, I've got Wario Land 2. I don't know anything about this one actually. So I've seen Wario Land 3 because that was a Super Mario Land game. I haven't seen Wario Land 2. I think that I just completely missed out on this one because it had no link to Mario in the title. I decided that since I wasn't a Wario fan, I wasn't gonna play it. I don't know anything about this one, so I'm excited to play it someday. Okay, can I share a hot take? This is the best Mario Golf game. I don't actually know if that's a hot take, but I remember playing this and the equivalent Mario Tennis as a kid, and I liked it so much more than I liked the console ones that came afterwards. I think the more recent ones are probably a little bit better to play with people. However, as a kid who didn't play very many games with other people, this one was my preference. I really liked this game. Also, this is my childhood Mario Golf as well. I'm really happy that I still have it. The next one that I'm gonna show was one of my favorites. I played this game so much. This is Super Mario Bros. Deluxe. I love this game. I think this is the best version of Super Mario Bros. That has ever been re-released. I loved collecting the pictures. I loved all the additional stuff. I liked that it saved your progress. But the big highlight of this for me was absolutely, first of all, the art on it is so stinking cute. Look at it. You just imagine you can see it clearly. The big highlight of this definitely were the pictures though. I always wanted to try to get those. I was always trying to figure out like the different criteria to unlock different ones. I loved this game. I played it so much. This is definitely like one of my most played Game Boy games. I feel like this is another Game Boy essential that I have never played. That is Paperboy. I've seen Paperboy before. I've seen gameplay of it. Maybe not this version though. Maybe the NES one. Also, have you ever looked at the N64 Paperboy? That game looks weird. I want to play that someday. I haven't played any of the Paperboy games. I'm hoping to someday because I feel like this is an essential Game Boy game. We're starting on Pokemon games now. So the first game that I'm going to show, this is the first Pokemon game that I ever played. It's Pokemon Blue. I have a story about how I obtained this. So when I was a kid, I remember I lended someone, I believe it was Super Mario Land, and they lent me their copy of Pokemon Blue. Little did I know that it was actually their siblings, and you can only have one save file on the Pokemon card. So when I got it, I deleted the save file. I started a new game. I saved over the one that was on there. I feel like having your younger sibling delete your save file is a rite of passage as a gamer. So after I returned it, I told my family I really needed to get Pokemon. I didn't know that there was like a difference between the versions. I didn't know anything about it. They told me that they would get me my own copy of Pokemon if I did a basketball summer camp without complaining. I was so determined to get Pokemon Blue. Despite being terrible at sports and especially terrible at basketball, I have no upper arm strength. I wasn't gonna complain once. I finished that summer camp and I got my own copy of Pokemon Blue, this very specific copy here. The first Pokemon I ever started with in this game was Bulbasaur. However, I restarted when I got this one and I got myself a Blastoise. I was very excited. This was one of my favorite games when I was a kid. I played it so much. Everyone in school had these. When you all were young, was Pokemon banned from your school? They banned Pokemon cards, they banned Game Boys, they banned yo-yos. But I have a lot of memories of taking my Game Boy Color to school, and we would all battle each other. We all had those like little link cables. I have so many good memories of this game. I also have a copy of Pokemon Red. I have a little bit less of a nostalgic attachment to this, but I did play through this one as well. I believe I probably started with Charizard in this game, but I'm not sure. I think it was because I was going with the theme. I ended up getting this game too because I liked Blue so much, but I also really wanted to collect all the Pokemon, and the only way to do that was to trade. So what I did was I had my Game Boy Color and my DMG Game Boy, and I had a link cable with both types of cables on it, and I would trade myself. I loved it. I loved playing this. I would also battle myself sometimes. I had a bias for Pokemon Blue, so Pokemon Blue would always win the battles. This next game, this is also a childhood copy of mine. Pokemon Yellow. This is my favorite Pokemon game. I have a lot of nostalgia for it. I loved the Pokemon anime, so being able to have Pikachu, Bulbasaur, Squirtle, and Charmander was the absolute coolest thing ever. Having this like game that was more based off of the anime, I loved it so much. Pokemon Yellow is great. I sadly lost my save file that I had on here since I was a kid. I was trying to get it to work one day, and then one day all the Pokemon were just gone. I was very, very sad. I did just replay it recently. I like it a lot. I think it's nice to go back to, and it's really nice to see where the series started. Do you all remember the trading cards too? I loved this book. I would read through it. First of all, look at how cool the artwork is in here. Like, isn't that just amazing? I remember I would look through these all the time. Here are all the cases that I store these in. Pokemon has such cool box art. I would love to get CIV Pokemon games someday. Going from Gen 1 right into Gen 2, I've got Pokemon Silver. This is the one that I mostly played as a kid. This one was my favorite. I think I started with Chikorita in this game. I loved Pokemon Silver. This gen, specifically Gen 2, is my favorite Pokemon gen. This is my favorite game that I've played. I loved it so much. I remember going through Johto and thinking it was really cool. They introduced the day-night cycle, which I thought was really amazing. They had like the phone system, which I think let you rebattle trainers, correct? And it just introduced a bunch of new Pokemon that I really liked. I started with a Chikorita. I will never forget beating the Elite Four for the first time. And then the rest of the game opens up. And I was just completely amazed at how vast this game is. This game is one of my favorites. I also have 2 copies of Gold. These ones I was not into as much as I was into Silver, but I really liked these ones as well. Gen 2 is just such an incredible and amazing journey. I will never forget my first adventure through them. Look, here's the trainer's guide for Pokemon Gold. Isn't this so cool? I didn't even realize, like, the first one I don't think had it separated by the version, right? Maybe it does and I just didn't realize it. Here are the 2 custom game cases that I have for these. They're so pretty. I feel like getting these CIB is expensive. I would like to someday though, because I think these boxes are beautiful. I've got a couple of spin-offs as well. Does the Game Boy have many spin-offs of the Pokemon series? I don't remember. Please leave comments below and tell me if I'm missing any, because I need to get them if I am missing any. The first one that I have here is Pokemon Trading Card Game. More people need to play this. This game is incredible. First of all, it's so cool seeing all the Pokemon art in like Game Boy pixel art graphics. Like, that is really awesome. Second of all, the music in this game is incredible. I like it so much. But I just really liked putting together all the decks. I was not very good at it as a kid. I didn't know what I was doing. I just wanted all of my favorites in a deck. I liked opening the card packs. I never finished this game. I remember it had like a similar kind of setup to Pokemon, where you would go to different, like, I guess themed gyms, I would call it. And you would have your decks and you would try to fight them. I never beat this. I feel like I have a little bit more of a grasp of how to play the trading card game now, that this would not be as hard for me as a kid. But yes, I would like to go back and finish it someday. And then for the last game here, and this is my first and I guess only non-conventional like Game Boy cart, Pokemon Pinball. Then we got that little battery pack here for the Rumble Pack. I played a lot of Pokemon Pinball. I don't think I ever collected them all. I don't know if you can even roll credits in this game because I've never done it. But I liked this game a lot. Seeing the different artwork of the Pokemon, trying to catch the Pokemon, it was really fun. Also, look, I don't know if I've ever realized that it literally says Rumble right there. This one was really fun. I liked this game. I need to get the other Pokemon Pinball. I think it's a Game Boy Advance game. I never played that one. This here is a childhood copy of Pokemon Pinball. I've had this game since I was young. I love it so much. We are in the final stretch. The next game that I have is a classic. It is my favorite version of this game, Tetris. When I think of Tetris, I think of this game. I think of the green backdrop. I think of the outline of the blocks. I think of the music in this game specifically. This is the theme that I play in Tetris 99. I loved this game so much. I believe this is my childhood copy of Tetris. I don't remember ever rebuying it. It's in really nice shape though. I will sometimes break this out and play this version specifically. It's really interesting because there's a lot of features that aren't in this Tetris game, like dropping the blocks immediately or the pocket. I think it's called the pocket. That doesn't exist either. And the final game that I have here, this was a gift from a friend. And the reason that I wanted this game is because I love the Nintendo 64 release of this game, Wave Race. This game is not as magical as the Nintendo 64 one, but I feel like it's worth a play for someone who likes that game so much. But it's hard. I couldn't figure out how to do anything in this game, but I like this game a lot. I love Wave Race on the Nintendo 64, so I just felt like I really needed to have this to play and have in my collection. I also really want to give out one big shout out to the Game Shark Pro. I used this to get all the Pokemon in Pokemon Blue at one point. I really enjoyed showing off the Game Boy collection. This is actually one of my favorite collections that I have, especially because I've had a lot of these games since I was a kid. If you could give one recommendation for a Game Boy game, what would it be? Let me know in the comments below. I go through phases where I'm pretty like obsessed with my Game Boy and I play it nonstop and I'm always shopping for new games. As for my wish list, I have quite an extensive Game Boy wish list, actually. One thing that I really want is I want to get Super Mario Land CIB. I think that is my #1 game that I want on this console. The reason is because this is the first game that I ever played on this handheld. It's probably one of the first games I ever played ever in my entire life. I just really, really like this game. Did you also throw out all of your game boxes? Because I did, and I really regret it. I also would really like to get Dragon Warrior Monsters, Mario Tennis. I loved that Mario Tennis game as a kid. I also really want to get Donkey Kong Land. They have yellow carts, which I think is really cool. I also need to give a big shout out to Pokemon Crystal. I think it's the #1 game that I want to get for Game Boy. I never played that one as a kid, and I think it is the absolute most beautiful cart. So I'm hoping to find that one someday. And my last game on my wish list is I want any of the Harvest Moon games. I'm a huge fan of Harvest Moon. Thank y'all so much for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed seeing my Game Boy collection as much as I enjoyed showing it off. If this is your first time here, I've been going through my collection console by console, showing off what I have and telling little stories about them. My previous video was my Super Nintendo video. My next one will definitely be Nintendo 64, and I'm kind of thinking of getting into my PlayStation games. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a really good rest of your day, and bye!